What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 5, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Oh, and good news, guys. Make sure to stay tuned to the very end of this video because we removed the box that was popping up and blocking the lineup. So now you can see a full lineup using these picks that we made in this video if you stay to the very end. Okay, guys, let's take a look at this Thursday Night Football Showdown between the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. So at the quarterback position, both of these quarterbacks are in play. I like Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks playing the Los Angeles Rams, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Russell Wilson has averaged 23.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.8 rush attempts per game. He's projected at 20.2 fantasy points here in Week 5, and he's 11,800 DraftKings salary. Now, Vegas thinks there's going to be 54.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Seahawks trailing by 2.5. So I think that's interesting. Now, this is a high-scoring game, and I think Russell Wilson is going to have to pass the ball a ton here. So I like Russell Wilson here versus the LA Rams. But I also like Matthew Stafford from the LA Rams playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford has averaged 24.6 fantasy points per game on the season, also getting 3.8 rush attempts per game, and he's projected at 24.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,400 DraftKings salary. So Matthew Stafford has the better matchup. Oh, and Stafford is going to be about 60% owned, and Russell Wilson is going to be about 53% owned. So you can go with either of these guys. You can play them both, play one or the other. I think I would recommend playing at least one of these quarterbacks in your lineup because they're both in good spots. So I like Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford here for tonight's game.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So Chris Carson did not practice on Wednesday heading into this game here tonight. So that's a bit concerning. Now, if he is active and good to go, I think he's going to be an okay play, but just got to keep an eye on the news on that one. So out of caution, I think if I'm going to play a running back, if I'm going to pay up for a running back tonight, it's going to be Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson Jr. from the LA Rams playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the second worst defense overall. They give up the second most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Darrell Henderson Jr. has averaged 16.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 14.3 rush attempts per game and 4 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 82% of the snaps, touches the ball 37% of the time, so that's pretty high for a running back. He's going to be about 39% owned, projected at 15.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,400 DraftKings salary, and this is a good matchup. And with Vegas thinking that the Rams may pull out ahead of the Seahawks, he could get 20 plus touches in this one. So I like Darrell Henderson Jr. here versus the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, so we touched on Chris Carson already. You got to keep an eye on that injury news, see if he's going to be active. Now, if he's not going to be active, even if he is active and he's going to be limited, if you want to take a shot and save some salary with a sleeper pick here at the running back position, take a look at Alex Collins from the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Alex Collins scored 16 fantasy points last game off of 10 rush attempts and 2 pass targets. He's going to be about 9% owned. He's only projected at 5.4 fantasy points here tonight. But if he can get over 10 rush attempts or 10 to 15 touches in this game, I think he can score double-digit fantasy points in this one. And he's only $3,200 DraftKings salary. So I like Alex Collins as a sleeper pick here versus the LA Rams.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. Our NBA tools are awesome. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So the stud pick on the slate. Now, I did fade Cooper Kupp last week, and that worked out because he only scored 11 fantasy points off of 13 pass targets. I just had a feeling that he had to come back down to earth, and they were talking all week about how they're going to game plan for Cooper Kupp, so that's never good for your fantasy production when they pretty much are just going to make sure you don't catch the ball or make sure you don't score the ball. So anyways, I think he's going to have a good game here tonight, but he is expensive. So Cooper Kupp from the LA Rams playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the second worst defense overall. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Cooper Kupp has averaged 27.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11.5 pass targets per game. Now, he had an off game last week, only 11 fantasy points, but he got 13 pass targets, so he's still getting the ball a ton. He's been on the field for 93% of the snaps. He's going to be about 52% owned, projected at 19.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's $12,400 DraftKings salary, so super expensive, but he's got monster upside with all those pass targets that he's getting in a good matchup and a high-scoring game. So I like Cooper Kupp here versus the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, the other stud wide receiver that I like is Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks playing the LA Rams, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing wide receivers, and Tyler Lockett has averaged 19.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.3 pass targets per game. Now, the last couple of weeks haven't really gone that well for Tyler Lockett, only scoring 6 and 7 fantasy points in the last 2 games, but he scored 35 fantasy points the game before that, so I think he's due for a big game here. And DK Metcalf was limited in practice on Wednesday. I think he's going to be fine, but that just makes me kind of lean towards Tyler Lockett, especially because I just think Tyler Lockett is due for one of those monster games here after putting in 2 weeks of not doing too much. So he's on the field for 89% of the snaps, and he's going to be about 45% owned, projected at 15.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's $9,600 DraftKings salary. So I like Tyler Lockett here versus the LA Rams. Now, if you want to save some salary at the wide receiver position, I like Van Jefferson from the LA Rams playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the second worst defense overall, give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Van Jefferson has averaged 11.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.5 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 76% of the snaps. He's going to be about 30% owned, projected at 10 fantasy points here tonight. He's only $4,800 DraftKings salary, and he scored 21 fantasy points last week off of 6 pass targets. He's gotten 6 pass targets in both of his games for the past 2 weeks. So I like that volume for a low salary wide receiver who's got plenty of upside. So I like Van Jefferson here versus the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. Probably not going to be playing a tight end, but if you do want to go there, take a look at Tyler Higbee from the LA Rams playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the second worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Tyler Higbee has averaged 9.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.5 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 88% of the snaps. He's going to be about 23% owned, projected at 10.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's $5,600 DraftKings salary. And you know, I said I probably wouldn't be playing a tight end, but depending on how the lineup construction goes, he might just fit into that last spot at $5,600 DraftKings salary. So he could make my lineup. So I don't mind Tyler Higbee here versus the Seattle Seahawks.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.